Alrighty, so the final Sunday game have just finished, and before we get into this game, I just want to quickly mention that I did win to the Giants versus Padres game today, and it was certainly one of the best games that I've attended this season at Oracle Park, and certainly it was a very intense game because, it is game 162, and the Giants, of course, can win the NL West by beating the Padres, and thankfully they were able to do at the end of the day, but because of the fact that it was just such an intense game, I basically focused that game and didn't even bother watching the busy part of the Sunday action, which is around 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific, and also kind of stay at the ballpark a little bit longer to kind of celebrate in terms of them winning the NL West, because it's been a while since the Giants, of course, won the NL West and finally ended that dominance of the Dodgers winning every single year. But I did make sure that, as much as I was definitely very happy and want to kind of celebrate a little bit longer, I did also realize that, yeah, there is El Tráfico that is going to be happening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and I just got back home in time, I think around 4:50, to basically watch El Tráfico between the Galaxy and LAFC. But that being said, this means that pretty much all of these games I wasn't able to watch. I did watch this game when I was on my way to the ballpark and also at the ballpark, but this one, and this one, and then on the next board, there's also one more game between the Portland Timbers versus Inter Miami. I didn't watch that one, and I'll talk about how in that Timbers versus Miami game, yeah, unfortunately, MLS didn't help me, but by releasing the condensed highlights, and I basically kind of had to rely on a bare bone highlights that Fox basically released to basically talk about what happened in the game. But before we get into that game, let's actually first talk about the first of the 7 games, and of course it's the early game, and well, it's not just the early game, but it's the earliest game of this season between NYCFC versus Nashville SC. And although it did end in 0-0 once again in another game that kind of ticked off very early in the morning. Well, that is, of course, if you live on the West Coast. In the East Coast, it's pretty much early afternoon. But when you look at this one, this definitely didn't look like it was one of those 0-0 draw that was kind of just nothing happened. And it definitely was kind of the opposite of what we saw in the 0-0 draw last week between the Chicago Fire versus Nashville, where I talked about how that is got to be the most boring 0-0 draw we have seen this season. In fact, both teams kind of had chances in this game, and it was just some missed opportunity for both of these teams, and also some decent save by the goalkeeper for both of these teams that keep this one scoreless. Now, in the first half, Maxi Morales did put it wide from close range before Castellanos almost gave NYCFC the lead as he struck the post, but there was no doubt that, one of the things that I did say in the preview that I was worrying about how this game could be off to a bit of a slow start because of the early kickoff. Doesn't seem like that was the case. I mean, it seems like NYCFC were the one that have been looking lively, and Nashville, again, playing at a 12 p.m. Eastern kind of kickoff is definitely not easy because they're back where they are, it's still like 11 a.m. in the morning, and they definitely look like they were not prepared for this early kickoff. And then in the 6th minute, we thought we got the opening goal of this game as Callens was able to put the ball into the back net for NYCFC, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside, and it was very close in terms of this one being offside, but at the end of the day, I think it's the right decision. Medina then tried to do a Randall layout, but he missed that one just high. I mean, for those who don't know what a Randall layout is, he's trying to do a little shot cross. I mean, it would be kind of ironic the fact that he did a Randall layout basically in front of the team that currently have Randall layout. And I wonder if he does maybe even watch this video. Maybe he might realize that, yeah, let's just not call that. Let's just, for now on, just call that a cross shot and not actually call it a random layout. But hey, he scored that amazing cross shot goal, and that's why ever since that happened, I've been kind of making that as the reference. But speaking of Nashville, Mukta then had Nashville first shot as he missed one on a weak effort. But then in the 33rd minute, there was definitely a lot of concern in the NYCFC fan base when they see one of their most important player in Anton Tinnerholm sub off of what looked like a knee injury. And not only the fact that it is a knee injury, it looked like it could be a torn ACL, because the way that he kind of came down without any contact, and anytime when a player came down without any contact and are just cannot really put a weight on one of the knee, yeah, that usually means it's a torn ACL, and if that is the case, that is a huge blow to NYCFC in terms of their chances to make the playoffs, because Tinnerholm, no doubt, is probably the heart and soul of this team. And again, we'll see whether or not, if it is indeed the worst case scenario, the fact that he is going to be done for the season because of a torn ACL. But in the second minute of stoppage time, Lovitz then hits a volley that mishit as we head to halftime, 0-0 between both of these teams. Heading into the second half, Maxi Morelos blazed it high from close range, and in some way he clearly should have done better in that. I mean, he was like, I think 6 yards out and just kind of missed a sitter from there before Sapon tried to curl one in, but that one goes wide. But both of these teams was definitely chasing to try to get the opening goal in this game. Leal drives one wide from close range as he came off the bench just a couple of minutes before Anunga had a big opportunity to put Nashville up 1-0, but he puts it high from close range, I think, from a header. And then Willis absolutely robbed Medina after just a WTF turnover from Dave Romney. And, Nashville, very lucky the fact that they didn't concede a goal there. And also very lucky the fact that, this defense, I talked about how well, in this game at least, I didn't think there were definitely some nervy moments, and that was kind of one of those moments where, they almost were made to pay for it. Before Parks did try to go for a close range effort, but he puts that one wide, and then Thiago missed wide from close range, and I think that was also a header that he missed. But no doubt NYCFC was pushing for the winning goal. Willis did deny Medina from close range in the 84th minute. Like I said, NYCFC was pushing for a winner, but ultimately they weren't able to find it. As in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw between NYCFC and Nashville SC. 12 shots compared to 9 that Nashville has in this game. 3 shots on goal compared to 1 that Nashville has. 8 shots off target compared to 6 that NYCFC had. 3 shots that was blocked compared to none that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Nashville has in this game. And overall, I don't think either of these teams is going to be happy with this draw. I mean, for Nashville, yes, it's a point win that you got on the road, but knowing the fact that NYCFC have been vulnerable in these last couple of games, they would feel like they probably could have got a win to really solidify themselves in the second position in the Eastern Conference. Whereas for NYCFC, like I said, this bad run of form kind of continue, and not to mention, like I said, we'll see how serious that injury that Tinnerholm suffered in the 33rd minute is going to be, because if it is a season-ending injury, then I can really see this team potentially fall off the playoff race, because again, this team, he is just so important to this team, and I don't know if they can really recover without his presence on the field. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Sporting KC versus the Houston Dynamo. So Sporting KC, of course, get a result that they were expected, which is winning against the Dynamo. But in terms of the scoreline, even though they put up an entertaining 4-2 win against the Dynamo, there were times where it definitely did not look comfortable. And this is why I talk about the Dynamo, where yes, they're pretty much in CU next season mode, but they have been playing well lately, and this is another game where, even though there were times that they were definitely second best and they were just under siege, they find a way to try to make the game interesting, and really kind of made SKC earn this free points in this one, which is exactly like what Sporting KC did. But early on in the 4th minute, they had an early chance when Russell had a free kick that actually hits the wall, but it kind of bounced right back toward him, and then he tried to follow up that one, but he basically put it right into Rhodes' head. But in the 13th minute, they had a big opportunity to get the opening goal, as the penalty was given to the home side after Junka basically brought down Russell in the box, which Russell was able to step up and takes the penalty and puts it in to make it 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC just 16 minutes in. Now in the 21st minute, the post denied Shawi and Sporting KC the second goal. Did I mention the fact that this game was on Twitter? And I mean, let's just say that you know how I've talked about Twitter commentating and how it's just so bad. I just got so so annoyed at times. Well, since I of course watched the condensed highlights of this game, I was basically forced to listen to the audio, and it just drives me absolutely nuts every time that they mispronounce Showery name. Like, I think they pronounce it Shalar or something. Now, I will say this. I think a couple of years ago, that was kind of how I pronounced it before I kind of fixed the pronunciation, and the correct pronunciation is Daniel Shallery. But the fact that they didn't even bother to fix it, like, somebody's got to tell them that that's not how you pronounce his name. And I mean, I know I'm being kind of a little bit too critical, and some people might will say, well, I also sometimes mispronounce name too, but when you just butcher it so badly, it started to kind of get a little bit annoying. And you can now sense why I always get very frustrated with Twitter commentating, and why most of the time I tend to not listen to the commentating when the Twitter stream is happening. But like I said, I kind of had no option, knowing the fact that I had to watch the condensed highlights of this game. But that being said, moving on from that little mini rant, Nelson was able to deny Mari in the 23rd minute. Sporting KC was just all over Houston early in this game. And the 26th minute, Showery was able to score from Kinda to make it 2-0 in favor of SKC. And I thought this was going to get ugly for Houston. Like, SKC looked like they were potentially maybe put up a 3-4 or even 5 spot on Houston in this game. Remember a couple of years ago when Sporting KC put up a 4 spot against Houston, and that was probably one of the most dominant games that they had all season. This looked like it was heading toward that way. Walters puts it high from long range in the 32nd minute before Ruti actually had Houston's first real opportunity as he smashed a volley that just gone a little bit wide. And I thought that, right as we get to halftime, Houston was really getting into this game and was looking to try to get a goal back. But we do head to halftime with Sporting KC leading 2-0 against the Houston Dynamo. Now, in the second half, Nelson absolutely robbed Kinda from close range as Kinda was going through on goal. Before, on the other end, Milia was able to deny Quintero from close range. So both teams getting some good chances, and both goalkeeper had to stay on their toe early and kind of be tested to not let in the next goal. But in the 50th minute, Milia would let in the first goal for the Dynamo. And it's Fafa Pico, who, I have a feeling in this offseason, it's going to be interesting to see how the situation of Fafa Pico is going to be. Is he going to maybe move on to another team? And especially the way that how he's been performing this season. I'm pretty sure there are some teams that are looking to try to add their roster to make a playoff push. Will be looking for Fafa Pico, because he has just had an incredible season for the Dynamo, and it's just so unfortunate the fact that he is stuck with a team that is pretty much going nowhere. But he scored here from Dorsey to make it get 2-1 in favor of SKC. Figueroa tried to tie the game up, but he puts it wide from close range in the 53rd minute. Before, in the 57th minute, Sporting KC restored their 2-goal lead. And it's Gadi Kinda scoring from Showery to make it 3-1 in favor of Sporting KC. Russell then puts it wide from 10 yards out in the 73rd minute. But in the 76th minute, Houston were able to get one back and peg Sporting KC back again, as this time it's Quintero, the one that is scored from Fafa Pico. So again, Pico, another great game for him, not only getting on the score sheet, but also getting on the assist chart. And all of a sudden, this game was at 3-2, and yeah, it was going to get a little bit interesting heading into the last 14 minutes. And you bet in the last 14 minutes, things definitely got interesting for SKC, because in the 83rd minute, Corona just puts it high as he tried to lash one from long range. Nelson then did deny Zuzi after kind of a WTF turnover from Houston, but this is also when Houston really started to push for that third goal. Quintero curls one that just goes wide on the free kick from about 27 yards out before Amelia had to deny Ruti there in the 88th minute, and Houston was really buzzing and looked like they were going to salvage a draw in this game and really score a late equalizer to frustrate SKC in this game. But fortunately for SKC, they did finally get that insurance goal to kill this game off, and it happened in the 90th minute as Russell would score his second goal of the game from Zuzi to make it 4-2 in favor of Sporting KC, and that would be the final score of this game. And like I said, it wasn't easy, but Sporting KC at the end they get the 3 points that they needed. And the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 9 that Houston has, 9 shots on goal compared to 4 that Houston has, 6 shots off target compared to 5 that Houston has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to none that Houston has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Dynamo has in this game. And even though the Dynamo did lose this one, there's got to be some positive, knowing the fact that you can definitely see this team is not showing quits, and that even though they know that elimination is pretty much coming for them, they're trying to play that spoiler role, and they're doing a really good job in terms of not letting teams face them and think that it's going to be an easy 3 points. And that's kind of the case with also a lot of these teams that is near the bottom, where even though you think that they have nothing to play for, yeah, that's not really true. You know that there's going to be some player of these team that is in the bottom feeder that want to play hard so that they can maybe keep their job heading into next season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Union versus the Columbus Crew, and as expected, the Crew had a hangover. Like, they really had that Campeones Cup hangover, and Philly was able to take full advantage of that by winning 3-0 in this game to now rise all the way up to third place in the Eastern Conference. Early on, the Union was definitely on the front foot early, but the Crew actually had the first real opportunity, although, well, it's really not a real opportunity, because Valenzuela not only just put this one right into the supporter section for the Union, but yeah, this one looked like it was put so high that I thought maybe that was going to go out of the stadium and go into the Delaware River there. But in the 19th minute, Montero also kind of put a similar one, but this one into the stands. But the Union did get the opening goal in the 24th minute as Elliott, the one that is actually able to score the goal for the Union, and this was very Jacob Glesnes kind of esque goal, where he basically strike one from long range. I mean, I will say that, I do have to question Evan Bush in terms of the way, the fact that he wasn't able to keep this one out, because, unlike Glesnes, where he kind of hit it very, very hardly, Elliott didn't really hit that one that hard, and it actually took a one-hopper there, where I just feel like maybe Bush could have done a little bit better in this. I mean, Bush, I thought in that game against the Campeones Cup, he of course makes some big save, and unfortunately, like I said, with the Crew being hangover from that Campeones Cup win, it seems like he was kind of part of it, and he definitely makes some mistakes in this game that I'm pretty sure Crew fans are just happy the fact that he made a mistake in this game and not in probably the most important game that they had in the last game against Cruz Azul in the Campeones Cup. But yeah, we do head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0, and heading into the second half, it would be 2-0 in favor of the Union, as Bedoya was able to score for Shibilko to double the lead for the Union. Montero then hits the side netting, and again, the Union was on the front foot again, and they were looking to try to get that third goal to really just kind of get sealed the 3 points in this one. Santos had that opportunity, but his long-range effort goes wide, and that Sergio Santos, by the way, because there's two Santos that's playing in this game. One that is Pedro Santos and Sergio Santos, but this was actually Sergio Santos, the one that puts a long-range effort that goes wide. But in the 62nd minute, Bush was able to rob Shibilko from 10 yards out there, and for Kasper Shibilko this season, even though when you look at the goal totals that he has, he still is having a good season, but he's definitely not as clinical and hasn't really been at his best as we've seen in previous year. And you just have a feeling heading into the playoffs, they hope that he will start to get himself back into form, because he is definitely the guy and the number 9 that they're hoping could do well and start scoring again, so that they can be one of their main goals scored. But in the 64th minute, the Union went down to 10 men as Wagner unfortunately take his second yellow card of this game. And for Columbus, even though they were down 2-0, knowing the fact that they're up a man, maybe there's an opportunity to try to get the equalizer, because I think after the red card, you can definitely see that Columbus was smelling blood and looking to try to get one back. Diaz curls it wide from long range in the 69th minute before Zaire had an acrobatic shot that hit straight to Andre Blake there. But then in the 73rd minute, this was the moment for Columbus to have a lifeline, because a penalty was given to Columbus after Zardes was brought down by Alves Pau in the box. And Santos of course stepped up here for the penalty for Columbus, but we know how good Andre Blake is in terms of stopping penalty, and he basically did one again, as he was able to deny Santos from the spot. Now, to be fair, that was not a great penalty from Pedro Santos, but knowing the fact that Andre Blake is a decent keeper in terms of penalty to stop, you maybe have to give him credit in terms of making that save too. I mean, he still kind of had to guess the right way to save this one, and he definitely did so. And most importantly, keep this game at 2-0, because if Pedro Santos scored that goal and the Crew get one back, yeah, that's going to set up a very nervy last 15 minute for these Union fan that is watching this game, and also the one at Subaru Park. But instead, the lead is still at 2-0. Zarian then had a free kick from 20 yards out that just goes wide in the 77th minute. Like, I would definitely not bet the fact that he would score that free kick, because he's just such a good free kick taker, probably one of the best, if not the best free kick taker in the league. But there was no doubt that Columbus was looking to try to get a goal back, even with the penalty kick miss. Blake absolutely rogged Nagby that is trying to curl that one into the top bin, and I mean, this was just an incredible save from Andre Blake, and one that not many goalkeeper in this league can make that save. I mean, I think besides maybe Matt Turner maybe Matt Turner, or you could say Stephen Fry from the Seattle Sounders can make this save. There's not a lot of goalkeeper that can make an incredible save that Blake, of course, made here, and he's definitely going to be once again in that conversation of potentially winning goalkeeper of the year. But in the 89th minute, the Union pretty much killed this game and put the icing on the cake, as Leon Falk would score, or not Leon Flock, it's Leon Flock that scored from Sullivan to make it 3-0 in favor of the Union. But yeah, this is one that Evan Bush would definitely want to have back, because yeah, this shot was literally hit right to Bush, and the fact that he didn't kind of palm that one away. And I mean, he kind of did get a hand to it, but he basically didn't get enough on it and just bounced it into the back. And then yeah, that's one that again Bush would definitely want to have back and kind of cap all of what's just not been a great game for him. But it was definitely a great game for the Philly Union, because they were able to win 3-0 in this game. And the shots in this one, dead even at 11 shots apiece, but the Union had more of the shots on goal at 6 apiece compared to 3 that the Crew has. 6 shots off target to 5 that the Union has. No shots that was blocked for the 2 that Columbus had, and Columbus had the better of the possession, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Union has in this game. But, you know, the Union getting the 3 points and now getting themselves all the way up to 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, which is still not that comfortable, because when you look at the standings, it feels like the standings are almost the same in terms of the gap between 3rd place all the way down to 8th place, because looks like there's still a 3-point gap as we now head into the last month of the season. But for the Columbus Crew, yeah, their playoff hope is definitely dying, and this is why, you know, as great as that Compass Cup win against Cruz Azul was their highlight of the year, they gotta quickly rebound and need to, of course, potentially win this game if they want to keep pace. And with the way that I think they're 4 points back, and not to mention they have played one more game compared to the teams that is above them, yeah, their chase of potentially making the playoffs just got even much more difficult, and there's really no more margin of error if this Crew team are looking to trying to make it to the playoffs and avoid being the first team to miss the playoffs after winning MLS Cup ever since TFC did back in 2018, I believe. Or was it 18 or 19? I think it was 18 that, you know, they won the MLS Cup, but then the very next year they, of course, missed the playoffs and finished in the 9th position. But that being said, moving on in terms of the last game on this board. Speaking of Toronto, they of course got a 3-1 win against the Chicago Fire in a game that, you know, I wouldn't blame anyone of not even thinking about watching this game, because again, this was kind of a meaningless game against 2 teams that are pretty much on verge of potentially getting eliminated. And, you know, I said this before with TFC, as much as I know TFC fans are kind of happy to see this team still fighting and are starting to look decent. I mean, they probably are kind of frustrated the fact that where was this kind of performance and where was this kind of urgency shown in the early part of this season? Because if they would have showed this kind of urgency maybe a month or 2 earlier, they still could have had a shot of making the playoffs. But because of the fact that they didn't show until recently, it's just kind of too little too late. But the good news is at least TFC is not really going to be in that discussion of winning the wooden spoon, which I guess maybe that's an achievement this season of how bad this year has gone, because a lot of TFC fans did say that they kind of did not want to win the wooden spoon, and it looks like they were on verge to do so for a majority of this year. Now, in the first half, and actually did not get off to a good start for the home team, because the Fire actually got off to a 1-0 lead 16 minutes in, as Robert Beric would score from Herberts to make it 1-0 in favor of the Fire. So it's another game where Beric was able to put the ball into the back of net, and you're hoping maybe slowly he's starting to get himself back into form. But like what I said about earlier with TFC being too late to having a resurgent run, this is too late for Beric to kind of have his resurgent run. Like, he could score a bunch of goals late in the season, and it kind of feels like it doesn't matter, because, you know, it's almost like garbage time for the Fire, knowing the fact that they're probably not going to make the playoffs this season. Schaffelberg then flashed one wide, just hide on the free kick in the 22nd minute before Delgado puts one wide from the far range. And, you know, TFC was definitely pushing for an equalizer, and they actually got a penalty in the 35th minute after Bornstein basically handballed that one. Now, what was controversial about this call, and by the way, there was actually a couple of controversial calls that we had over the weekend, but what was controversial about this one is not actually the handball on Bornstein, but the controversy about this is whether or not on the attacking sequence there was a potential offside, because when, I think, if you rewind a couple of seconds before this handball, it looked like when the ball was played on the left flank, it looked like Schaffelberg, or actually not, I don't think, was it Schaffelberg or Osorio? Well, either one of them was in an offside position, and I think even Steve Caldwell kind of mentioned it on the TSN feed that, yeah, I think one of those players was actually in an offside position, and I won't be surprised they're going to call it back, but they never did. I mean, the penalty, of course, was sticked, but unfortunately for TFC, they weren't able to take advantage of the gift, as Selenium was able to deny Soteldo from the spot. I mean, Gabriel Selena, he is really starting to look like a decent goalkeeper, and the fact that he's only 17 years old is kind of astonishing. Him to be a starting goalkeeper in this league in this young of an age, you know, that is definitely not expected. But with the talent that he has shown for the Fire in the starts, you know, he could definitely be a upcoming rising star goalkeeper in this league. But here he make a great save to deny Soteldo from the spot. But I also kind of wrote, yeah, ball don't lie in terms of it. Like, that is a classic ball don't lie moment. The fact that, yeah, it probably shouldn't have been a penalty, and in the end TFC didn't capitalize it, because, you know, the ball don't lie, and basically know that in the end it wasn't really just a penalty. But that being said, in the 43rd minute, eventually TFC did get the equalizer, and it's Delgado scoring from Schaffelberg to tie the game up at 1 apiece. So Schaffelberg getting on the assist chart, and Delgado also getting on the goal scored. I mean, recently, when you look at some of these goals scored for TFC, these are the guys that you did not think that would be usually end up on the goal score. Like Delgado, he's been scoring goals lately, which is something that we have not seen from him in these past couple of years. And the same with Jacob Schaffelberg, who was literally just a bench player and now started to kind of get some minutes, and he's definitely took advantage of it, of getting goals and assists in these a lot of goals and assists in these last couple of games. Now, he had a chance to score one in the second minute of stoppage time, as he had a header from close range that is actually hit straight to Salania, and we had to halftime tied at 1 apiece between both of these teams. Now, in the second half, Schaffelberg thought that he scored the second goal for TFC and the go-ahead goal, but the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside on the attacking sequence. Salania then denied Schaffelberg from close range in the 50th minute. It was pretty clear that TFC was pushing to take the lead, and they would get the lead in the 56th minute. And again, just a guy that you didn't think that he would be on the score sheet, Omar Gonzalez. He ends up on the score sheet here from Soteldo to make it 2-1 in favor of TFC. And then in the 62nd minute, we probably almost saw a candidate for goal of the year, where Gaston Jimenez decided to try to score in his own half. And he kind of tried to chip Bono there. And I'll tell you what, that was almost over the head of Bono, because Bono was definitely scrambling back, and he is very fortunate the fact that he just got back in time and catch this one, because imagine if that one actually sailed over his head and goes into the back of the net. Yeah, that is going to be very embarrassing. And, goalkeepers, they always hate it to be chipped over, but they especially hate it when they get chipped over from about like 70 yards out, and that was the kind of case in that game, and that could have been an incredible goal, and certainly one that is contention for goal of the year. But nevertheless, in the 70th minute, TFC would put this game away as Soteldo would score from Osorio to make it 3-1 in favor of Toronto, and that's all she wrote in terms of this game, as in the end, TFC were able to get the victory. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 11 that the Fire has, 6 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Fire has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that the Fire has, and both teams had 3 shots that was blocked. And the possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Chicago Fire has in this game. And like I said, both of these teams are just kind of playing out the string. And, even though this is a game that's kind of meaningless for both teams, I guess maybe the winning team is still going to be happy the fact that they got a win, because, at the end of the day, a win is a win. And for the Fire, again, they look like they have checked out right now. And this is a team that is also, so along with TFC, that is just counting down the days of elimination, so they can start looking into the offseason and see what needs to be fixed to get to hopefully get themselves back on track heading into next year. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 3 games that happened in terms of the Sunday action. So, as I mentioned earlier, because of the fact that I went to that Giants versus Padres game, and, I was really focusing on this game, and I didn't even think about basically watching these MLS game alongside with watching the game at Oracle Park. This means that I had to really heavily rely on condensed highlights, and unfortunately in this game between the Timbers and Miami, there was no condensed highlight. There was only those 4 minutes highlight, and also because this is a national television game, the MLS YouTube channel doesn't release those highlights of the game until like a day or two late. So rather of me basically have to wait a day or two to just kind of talk about this game, I just basically decided to, just watch the highlights in terms of what Fox basically give me, which is a very short 6-minute highlight that was kind of just showing bare bone of what actually happened in this game. And yeah, this is pretty much what I can find in terms of happening in this game. And I know for sure that this is not all that happened in this one, because I know that there was actually a very controversial call happened late in this game where Miami looked like they had an equalizer late in this one, and then the goal of course was disallowed because there was a foul that happened. And unfortunately, because they didn't show it on the short kind of bare bone highlights on Fox, or even on the 4 minutes highlights that I watch on the league website, yeah, I couldn't really tell whether or not exactly if that is not a foul or not. But let me know in the comments if you're a Miami fan, and if you have a footage of that, you can just kind of send it in the description below, because again, I definitely know that there was a very controversial call in this game that could have maybe changed the balance of how this game would have turned. But overall, in this game, the Timbers, of course, getting the 1-0 victory, and it kind of took them a while to get that lead. They did have some chances in the first half, as Asprilla puts it wide as he was going through on goal in the 19th minute. And then there was almost an own goal from Breck Shave, where he basically kind of hit this header and kind of redirect back toward goal, but it was straight to Marsman. We actually been seeing more of those recently, which again, it's kind of weird that we've been seeing a lot of those, because it's not actually that easy for a defender to kind of mishit a header. I mean, I think it's much more harder for defender to kind of mishit header than actually, just clear it correctly. But this one was just Breckshay kind of mishits it, and Marsman was able to just alert to kind of keep this one out. Then Asprilla did drive it wide from close range in the 36th minute as Portland was pushing for the opener. But we do head to halftime with the Timbers and Inter Miami 0-0. Almost said the Timbers were up 1-0 heading into halftime, but that was not the case. Now in the second half, Miami did have their first real opportunity as Clark was able to deny Higuain from long range. Mora then had a shot that was blocked off the line for Miami. They talk about in the broadcast, and I think Stu Holding kind of mentioned the fact that it seems like Nick Marsman was having trouble with the sun, and obviously the sun was an issue not just because this is, of course, the day game, but Marsman, unfortunately, had the situation of basically facing directly into the sun. And I don't care if you're a decent goalkeeper or not a decent goalkeeper. It's always tough for goalkeeper to have to put in that position where they have to basically face directly into the sun, and it just makes it really hard for them to see. And that was kind of a moment where I don't think Marsman saw it, and thankfully his defender was there to kind of block that one off the line and preserve this 0-0 draw as of now. But unfortunately, in the 82nd minute, the Timbers finally got the winning goal. And it's Nizgoda, who came off the bench in this game, become a super sub, scoring from Blanco to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. Again, there was a late controversial goal that was disallowed for Miami that unfortunately I can't really give a lot of information because I still haven't saw the footage of it. But in the end, the Timbers got the 1-0 win over Inter Miami in this first ever meeting between both of these teams. And the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 13 that Miami has, 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that Miami has, 6 shots off target compared to 4 that Miami has, 8 shots that's blocked compared to 4 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And, coming out of this game, certainly, it pretty much just show how both of these teams and the direction that both of these teams are heading for the rest of the season, where the Timbers are definitely on the stock up, trying to not only secure 4th position, but also maybe even try to catch the Rapids for that 3rd position. Whereas for Inter Miami, yeah, they are definitely dropping down, and that playoff hope is starting to slip further and further away from them. But now moving on into the next match. It's none other than El Tráfico. So, despite the fact that, this El Tráfico wasn't like one of those El Tráfico where it was kind of high scoring and the scoreline turns out to be a crooked number, because it seems like every El Tráfico that seems to be the case. But what I think in this game that shows you that, yeah, it is pretty clear that this is an El Tráfico. It's just the amount of chances that was happening on both ends. And in some way, defending was pretty much optional in this game. And the only reason why there wasn't more goal in this game was some bad finishing for both of these teams, and also some big save that both of these goalkeeper was able to make. Well, in some way, it was actually Bond the one that actually made a couple of saves, because I don't think if I see here on the ball I record, Romero actually made a lot of saves. But either way, this was just a game where there was just tons of missed opportunity for both of these teams. Though I will say that in the first 10 minutes, it wasn't actually really that lively. Well, actually, I take that back. It was kind of lively in the way that it was pretty fast-paced early, but, both teams kind of lacked that final ball and just kind of lacked that killer finish. And this has been kind of the issue for both of these teams, at least for the Galaxy recently, where with the goals kind of drying out, they just don't really have the quality in the final third to do so. And we talked about multiple times with LAFC having problems scoring goals and having that final third quality to break down team. But there was just no doubt that it was kind of entertaining to see kind of both teams kind of flying left and right. And again, that's just what you're gonna get with El Tráfico, where both of these teams, they don't like, the reason why there's always been these kind of crazy game in El Tráfico is both teams don't care about defense. Like they just want to entertain the fans and trying to go for it. And when you have both teams kind of go for it in such a rivalry like that, you're going to get games where both teams just kind of forget how to defend and always get on the transition. And it's no surprise that when you always go on the attack and go on the transition, you're always going to get caught in the back. But that being said, in the 11th minute, we finally got ourselves the opening goal of this game, as Mamadou Fall was able to score from Atuesta to give the visitor a 1-0 lead. But then 7 minutes later, the Galaxy respond, and it's Grandsir that was able to score from Vasquez and Chicharito. And at that point, I was thinking, well, here we go again. We are ready for an El Tráfico that probably is going to end like 4-4 or 5-3, because, with how that was kind of really the first two real opportunity of the game. I just sense that with more opportunity that we're going to get in this game is going to ends up to be a crazy scoreline. And at least the chances kind of continue because in the 24th minute, Bond was able to deny Rodriguez from close range as he kind of went through on goal before Raheem Edwards tagged one from long range, but he missed just high. Chicharito had a chance in the 27th minute, but he drags it wide from close range. I thought Chicharito was kind of quiet in this one, and with a game where I did say that defense was kind of optional, I did think that the LAFC backline did do a good job in terms of containing Chicharito in this one, though that being said, Chicharito, I feel like he would be frustrated with his performance in this game because he just did not really get into a lot of good area to maybe put the ball into the back net. I mean, he did get on the assist chart, but it was kind of like a secondary assist, and I'm pretty sure as a number 9 on him, he probably don't care about assists. All he care is basically put the ball into the back of the net, and he didn't really got a lot of chance to do so in this one. In the 30th minute, Ringo missed wide from the back post, and I basically wrote this. It started to look like El Tráfico, where again defending seems to be optional for both teams, and it was just back and forth kind of battle. Rivalson tried an acrobatic volley shot that not only goes way wide, but that actually ends up to be a corner, or actually not a corner, but actually ends up to be a throw-in. In the 43rd minute, we kind of had a little coming together between both teams. This wasn't really that much of a heated El Tráfico. I mean, I think that was kind of maybe the only time where things kind of started to get a little bit hot. But nevertheless, in the first minute of stoppage time, Alvarez did blast it high from long range, and we had to halftime tied at 1 apiece between both of these teams. And in the second half, chances kind of continue as straight from the kickoff, Bond was able to deny Arango as he goes through on goal. Before 11 minutes later, Cifuentes drives one that goes straight to Bond from long range. And in the post, denying Depew his chance to score the second goal and his first ever goal in his MLS career on the header, and I believe that one was coming from the corner. Speaking of the post, LAFC also hit the post, but this was because of Jonathan Bond absolutely robbing Janela, who basically put a shot that looked like it was destined for a goal, but Bond somehow in some way was just able to tip that one off to the post and out. And really, I kind of wrote the next goal is coming soon. I mean, I know with the way that the chances are just going left and right, this next goal is definitely come soon. And again, I just have no idea who is going to get it, and it all depends on who is going to be the one that is going to find that clinical finishing in the final third. Masłowski did try to claim that, but he hits that one over the bar from close range in the 67th minute before Jovic was the latest victim of the post as he struck the post on a looping header, which originally that looping header, it didn't look that dangerous at first when he heads it in, but when that one actually dips down and struck the post, yeah, that was almost a big opportunity for the Galaxy to take the lead, and I'm pretty sure LAFC was definitely not expecting that one to go in, and they were thankful the post was able to save them there. But fast forward late in the game, Kim Moon Kwan blasted high from a tight angle before Masłowski puts it straight to Jonathan Bond, and then Jovic from long range blasted high in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. And again, despite the fact that there was a lot of chance for both of these teams, only 2 goals was scored in this El Tráfico, and with both of these teams only scoring 1 goal apiece, and in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to the 14 that LAFC had, 7 shots on goal compared to the 1 that the Galaxy had, 7 shots off target compared to the 6 that the LAFC had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that LAFC has in this game. And in many ways, I also talked about how this is kind of a desperation El Tráfico for both of these teams, because both of these teams desperately need to get 3 points so that they can, for one team, stop this free fall that they've been going, and for another team trying to get themselves back into a good position for the playoffs. And the fact that both of these teams weren't able to get that desperate 3 points, yeah, you can guarantee both teams is going to be left very frustrated coming out of this game. And that, for the Galaxy, it's now 9 games without a win, and they continue to slide down. Well, this week they were fortunate that they didn't slide down because Minnesota also didn't pick up 3 points to overtake them, but they are still going look like they could potentially slide down with the winless run that they're going in. And for LAFC, being outside of the playoff line, they have to get wins if they're gonna get above the red line, especially with the way that the team above them right now, that is the Vancouver Whitecaps, now not only have a point over them, but also with the way that the Whitecaps have a game over LAFC. Yeah, that means that LAFC don't really have that edge of potentially overtake the Whitecaps, unless if the Whitecaps potentially would drop two resources. So yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit grim in terms of LAFC playoff chances, but I still believe that they could eventually get into the playoffs. Like, it just feels too good, and just it doesn't feel right if LAFC does not make it to the playoffs this season. And I even said before, if they do not make the playoffs this season, this would be probably one of the biggest failure we've seen in the league history, and there could definitely be some big changes that could be coming for this team in the off season. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board. And that, of course, is a game that if it wasn't for El Tráfico, I would think this would have been the game of the week. And I also just realized I didn't even put the stats of this game, so I'm just going to quickly go to Google right now, just kind of pull up the stats from the league website. But in the end, in this game between the two top three teams in the Western Conference, it's the Seattle Sounders able to come away with all 3 points in this game, getting the 3-0 victory. But when you look at how this game kind of went, it doesn't look like it was a 3-0 game. I mean, the Rapids, they actually had a lot of chances in this game to make this game much more interesting, and in some way they also kind of had some defensive mistake that really kind of cost them in this one, and kind of gifted the Sounders a couple of goals because of those defensive and goalkeeping mistake. And that actually happened right away in this game, because in the second minute of this game, Rodon scored from Bruin to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead, and Clint Irvin, of course, getting his first start of the season. You can probably tell that he definitely was nervous, and he definitely has a lot of rust, because yeah, this was literally hit right toward him. And again, when it's hit right toward him like that, you would expect he should be able to palm that one away. And I understand that it's been a while since he has played for the Rapids, but again, that's ones that he should clearly easily save. And because of the fact that he didn't save it and it goes into back of net, the Rapids all of a sudden find themselves behind the 8 ball. Though I will say that the Rapids, after going down 1-0 early in this game, they did kind of respond well and trying to push for the equalizer. Though the next big chance came in the 15th minute with Paulo hits a long-range effort that goes straight to Clint Irvin. By the way, Clint Irvin continued to be very shaky early in this game. There was a couple of times where the Sounders did try to test him a little bit, and there was definitely some nervy moment that Irvin kind of had. But at the same time, I thought the Rapids, even with that chance, they still continued to do well, and they did especially well in terms of the build-up and kind of almost get to that final stage of the ball where they could create chances against the Sounders defense. But unfortunately, that's where the issue come, where they just doesn't really kind of have that good final ball to break down that last stage of the Sounders defense. In fact, the Sounders would actually make it 2-0 not long after, as Madronda would score from Paulo and Rodon to make it 2-0 in favor of the Sounders. And again, this is another one that Irvin clearly should have saved. Like this one, yes, it's hit low and with power, but it's one that is kind of hit right to Irvin, and especially toward the near post. And when you're a goalkeeper and you're being on a low driven shot in the near post, that is never a good look. And yeah, this is the one that I think Irvin clearly should have done better. I'm kind of surprised that Yarbrough did not play in this game. I'm not sure exactly why that is the case, or whether or not if Yarbrough picked up a victory. But yeah, I mean, you can clearly see Irvin was dealing with the rust, and that rust might be one of the reasons why the Rapids weren't able to win this game, because the other reason, as I mentioned, they were not being clinical in terms of their finishing and weren't able to put away some of their chances when the Sounders give them. One of those came in the 27th minute when Marc-Anthony Kaye had a shot that was somehow cleared off the line by Arriaga before he had another chance from 10 yards out, but he puts it high. Then Fry did tip Shinishiki's shot over the bar in the 35th minute. Colorado was definitely knocking on the door to try to get one back, but then in the 35th minute, Arriaga was able to crucially block Barrio shot from 12 yards out before in the first minute of stoppage time, it would be 3-0 in favor of the Sounders. And yeah, this was just an incredible solo goal. And I have a feeling that, how I talked about earlier, that, Atlanta is going to try to maybe ambush the vote for goal of the week. I'm pretty sure Sounders fans are going to do the same thing. And in some way, this one, I think, would maybe even deserve a better shot for goal of the week compared to the Atlanta goal. I mean, no offense, Atlanta fans, but unfortunately, that one probably was not. He's not at the level of this one, where just basically João Paulo took one from halfway out, and he basically took on almost the entire Rapids defense and put it into the back of the net. Like, that was just a very Messi-esque kind of goal. Or in the case of João Paulo, since he's Brazilian, that was a very Neymar-esque, or even you could maybe argue maybe like a Pele-esque kind of goal, where he just took on the entire Rapids defense and put the ball into the back of the net. But, as much as that is just such an individual brilliant goal, you gotta have to ask question about that Rapids defense. Like, you cannot let a center defense mid that basically take the ball from midfield and basically just dribble you like you across like that so easily. But nevertheless, what a great goal that was. And you can even tell that when the Sounders basically interviewed Brian Schmetzer at halftime, Brian Schmetzer was definitely pumped. And usually, I don't see Brian Schmetzer gonna be pumped up until maybe after the end of the game, but he was definitely pumped, and he even said that probably was the best goal that the Sounders have scored this season. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's definitely a conversation between Madrona goal and also the goal that João Paulo scored in the first game of the season, that was in Rocket. And, the Madrona goal, as I mentioned, him just absolutely tagging one on the volley in that Cascadia derby. Like, that is definitely worthy of not only the best goal that the Sounders scored, but maybe even goal of the year kind of contention. But this one definitely is not far behind, with an individual effort from João Paulo there. But yeah, the game was now at 3-0, and again, it just did not look like it was a 3-0 game, because this was just kind of a case where the Sounders took advantage of their opportunity and the Rapids didn't. And how many times I've said before, when you're the inferior team, that is the Rapids, coming into the game, and you don't take your opportunity, you are going to be punished. And they were definitely punished by the Sounders. And in some ways, kind of their undoing too, with some of these mistakes that they made in the first half, as they head into the first half down 3-0. Now in the second half, it looked like it was going to be 4-0 when Madrona basically scored, but the goal, of course, was disallowed. Actually, not for offside, but it was because of a foul that happened, which, yeah, I feel like that was kind of soft in terms of calling that to be a foul that basically disallowed a goal. But I guess maybe that was just kind of just a call to show some mercy to the Rapids, knowing the fact that, at that point, if they went down 4-0, yeah, they're just getting absolute kill in this one. Before Nuhu actually heads it wide on the free kick, and you can tell that the crowd was ready to erupt. Like, if Nuhu actually put that ball into the back net, Lumen's field roof will literally come off, because Sounders fans has been waiting for that moment for Nuhu to finally score his first career goal. And I have no doubt that eventually he will get his first career goal, but that looked like was the moment, but he just hits that one high. Montero then hits it straight to Irvin in the 59th minute. The Sounders was definitely hungry for more. And then this is where we also get to the other controversial call of the night, because in the 62nd minute, Estevez, of course, was giving his marching order, and I put foul on Paulo with a question mark, because, yeah, this was no doubt a very questionable red card, where, first of all, I kind of didn't think it was a foul originally, because it looked like Estevez kind of just got to the ball as he of course fouled Paulo there. I mean, there was another angle where I would say maybe, yeah, that could be a foul, and maybe if Estevez has already been warned multiple times, he probably would have got a yellow card. And kind of looks like it was just a regular foul. But the fact that the referee just kind of go straight to his back pocket like that, yeah, that was kind of a little bit surprising. And what's even more surprising is the fact that they didn't even go to VAR to check on this. And I'm not even going to go down to my rant in terms of talk about why in the world did they not look at this in VAR, and what's the point of using VAR when you're not using it in terms of that situation. And also, not to mention, this is, I think, the second time I've seen a red card that, in my opinion, this week is not a red card. And, you know, I think alongside with the Reynoso red card that we saw yesterday against FC Dallas, there's no doubt Colorado is going to try to appeal this one. And I think they should have a good chance to win this appeal because, again, when you look on the replay, it looked like it's just a common foul. And I don't know why the referee kind of just gave a straight red on that when it looks pretty much a normal kind of foul like that. But nevertheless, the Rapids was down to 10 men, and in some way the Rapids actually played better when they were down to 10 men and actually had more chances. Rubio thought that he got one back for the Rapids in the 74th minute, but the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. Though I will say the reason why the Rapids kind of got better as the time winds down is because the Sounders was just electing to kind of shut up shop and just kind of took the foot off the gas, knowing the fact that they pretty much won this one. Bassett then hits one straight to Stephen Fry before Chu had a chance to make it 4-0 in favor of the Sounders, but he missed wide from close range. But in the end, the Sounders pretty much just cruise in their way to 3 points and pretty much put it in cruise control in the second half to get the 3-0 result. And like I said, I'm going to try to pull up the stats of this game, which I think it probably isn't in favor of the Rapids, because I thought the Rapids actually had a lot more chance in this game compared to the Sounders, though I could be completely wrong though, because you know the Sounders also had their chance, had equal amount of chances. In fact, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna look back on here. I'm gonna use my desktop a little bit here because my desktop is slightly faster. Let me take a look here, and I'll basically just read it from this area here. So the shots actually was even, 10 apiece for both of these teams. 6 shots on goal to the 5 that the Rapids has. If I move down to the shots off target, 3 shots off target to the 2 that the Rapids had. 1 shot that was blocked with the 3 that the Rapids has, and the possession wise is going to be 50% each for both of these teams. So, like I said, it was a relatively even game where both teams, of course, had the opportunity. But, like I said, one team was able to bury it. That is the Sounders. One team wasn't able to bury it. That is the Rapids. And also, so kind of caused their own downfall with those goals that they conceded. And, yeah, in the end, I think for the Rapids, now with their 12-game unbeaten run came to an end, hopefully, let's see if they can maybe bounce back after just such a tough loss that they had in this one, and they're of course still searching for that big win against a top opponent to really kind of send the message to the rest of the league that they are an MLS Cup contender. Because I think in this game, what the performance that they put, I think they could definitely hang with some team that could be MLS Cup contender. But at the end of the day, there's one thing of hanging with those teams, but there's another of actually getting the result at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, if you don't get the result and you don't get the win at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter there whatsoever. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys hit like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 3 games and also the other 4 games that was on the other board. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys hit like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.